of an, okay.
Hi, this is Emmy Moon, and today I will be interviewing Francisco Brujo Luis, and he's the author of Luz and Progreso. How you say it, Luis?
Luz,
Progress?
Luz y Progreso, Light and Progress.
Light in Progress, and is the handbook for developing mediums within the Puerto Rican Espiritismo community. So let's get Luis on. There you go. Hi, Luis.
Saludo, hello.
Thank you for today. This is my first interview, so it might be a little, iffy. But I wanted to interview you because you're very interesting. I bought your book, and I want to know first, who are you? Who is Francisco Brujo Luis? Who are you?
Who am I as a person?
As a person and in the spiritual community, what do you practice?
I practice, well, first of all, my name is Luis, and I'll keep my other names, to myself. But my name is Luis. I was born in August 13, 1969, in the town of Lowell, Massachusetts, and I'm still here. My parents are from Puerto Rico. My mother comes from Comerío, and my father comes from Comerío as well. And I come from a family, of Espiritista. It kind of skipped a generation. When my parents came to the new world, they wanted an American life, and my father especially, he wanted the quintessential American life, the vacations every summer, the picket fence. They worked very hard to give us that normal life, but normal, for America. But every summer, my mother would send me to Puerto Rico because I was a wild child. I was a little crazy little kid. But when
I think we lost him.
Yeah, looks like he froze.
Uh-oh. I think we lost him. Luis? And he is gone.
That's how it is to run something on the first time. I don't know if it's computer or if it's Google Plus doing this. But let's see.
Give me one.
He's back.
Can you see me? I can't see nobody.
We lost you for a little bit.
I don't even know what to press. I'm scared.
No, you're there. We see you.
We see you now.
I don't see nobody.
You're back. You were telling us how your mother sent you to Puerto Rico when you was little.
Yeah, she used to send me to Puerto Rico because I was a very sick child. When I was born con what they call el velo de la cara. And I'm not even seeing you guys. I can't even see you guys.
The veil of the face, a veil on
like a membrane. It's a
membrane
on your face. And my grandmother, mi abuelita, said that él va a tener la vista. He's going to have the sight, So she would, my mother would send me to Puerto Rico every other summer where I would develop, with my abuela.
Grandmother.
Yeah, with my abuelita. And, that was my first teacher, my most important teacher. And I'm lost. I can't even see you guys. I don't even know what to press.
No, we hear everyone sees us.
Everybody sees it. Yeah, it's on screen, so it's okay.
Okay.
There we go. Do you see us now?
I don't see nobody. I don't know what happened after that froze. But I can hear you. That's important.
So, so you followed your grandmother started teaching you when you went to Puerto Rico because your mother sent you there?
Mm-hmm. My grandmother. I'm sorry?
And this is how you started in Espiritismo, Sansei, how it began for you?
Espiritismo, well, my grandmother, we used to have, I don't know if you know Puerto Rico much, but in Puerto Rico, at the time when my grandmother was in the 70s, she had that little shack, the little wooden shack, el bollo, is what they call it, el bollo. And, but she would she would do readings con la baraja española. She would have consultations every week, and every day. And I remember I would be like outside looking because she wouldn't want me to be inside because I was just a little terror when I was a little kid. And then she would have reuniones espirituales, misas espirituales, and of course I wasn't allowed. And I remember
Unions, spiritual unions. I'm sorry, I'm translating.
yeah, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I speak Spanglish a lot. But she would have those spiritual reunions or sesiones, and she would tell me to go to the room. But you know, I was always very curious. I wanted to learn, and I was always fascinated by the way the mediums would bring down the santos or the guías y protectores. It was just a very fascinating childhood that I learned. And she was also a yelbera, curandera. Yelbera is a bad term. A lot of people don't like the word yelbera.
What is that? Herbalist?
An herbalist, but a lot of people, when they heard yelbera, they think it's someone who messes with herbs to do like black magic. But she didn't do that. She just used herbs more to cure, to heal. So she would go into the mountains because behind her house there was like mountains, and she would pick up the herbs. You know, there were certain times that you couldn't pick this herb or whatever, and she would pick herbs, and I would be like the little boy that hold the basket for her, you know, and she used to smack me around because I just wanted to play with everything, you know. Me daba el cocotazo, as we say in Puerto Rico, because I would cocotazo, you know, and mira nene, pay attention, and you know, she was my most important teacher, but she was more espiritismo de la mesa blanca. She didn't practice santeria, she didn't practice sanse, no. She practiced more espiritismo. There were some spirits that are known in sanse that would come down to some mediums in la misa, because I remember when I was little I would see Papa Candelo, and I can't remember the other ones, but Papa Candelo was one of the most uno de los misterios that most came to a lot of the
one of the mysteries that most show themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So that brings me, I guess, to my first question. What inspired you to write this book? What happened?
Okay,
what inspired you to write this book?
A lot of people have been asking me to write a book for the longest time, and I'm really a private, quiet person. I like to be alone a lot. And I have a lot of close friends that, you know, I pick up on emotions, so I like to separate myself a lot from people. But anyways, I had read this book from this New Zealand mambo, Paula Wedo, and she had wrote this little booklet. It was called Ai Bobo. It was a book about voodoo. And I read this little book in just like one day. It was like 74 pages. And I contacted her. I remember I contacted her on Facebook, and I said, mira, Paula, that book, I think, would you mind if I translate it in Spanish, because I think this book would help a lot of people. So she was really honored, and I translated it within like a week or 2 weeks, and she published it, and it's selling really good. After we published Ai Bobo, which is this book right here, this is the Spanish version, you know, and it's by Paula Mamboel, and then I translated it into Spanish. She said, you know, now you got to work on a book about your Puerto Rican tradition, espiritismo. There's not much out there.
No, there's not, especially in English. Especially in English.
No.
Over the years, when I was looking into spiritualism, espiritismo, because I'm a spiritualist myself, and anytime I would go and try to find any book of that, it was always in Spanish, and I'm a New Yorican.
Yeah.
This is my first, you know, language. Spanish, speak Spanglish, and
right.
So it was hard for me to find something on espiritismo that was in English. So when you wrote this book, when you was in writing, I was so excited. We all couldn't wait for it to come out, especially on Puerto Rican espiritismo. You know, so thank you. And that brings me to my next question.
Okay.
Because when I found you years ago, I first came across your blog on Sanse, and that's how I met you. That's how I got to know you, through all of your blogs. But this one's on espiritismo. So what is the difference between Puerto Rican espiritismo versus Sanse? What is the difference?
Espiritismo works mostly with guías y protectores, which are and ancestors, which are spirit guides that are assigned by God, to protect and to educate you in your life. And we have a spirit guide for pretty much everything. We have a learning guide, a healing guide. So that's what Espiritismo pretty much is. Sanse is a mixture of Espiritismo with Haitian Voodoo. And in the 1800s, my dogs are barking, in the 1800s, when I guess they had the Haitian Revolution, or the war in Haiti, many of the French, the white French, brought their slaves not just to Puerto Rico, but to Cuba. And they brought mostly to Mayagüez y Aguadilla, which is on this side of Puerto Rico, on the western side of Puerto Rico, and the Haitian people saw the similarities between el espiritismo and el voodoo. So from there, they intermingled these two traditions, and it became Sanse. Now Sanse, the word Sanse is not a Spanish word. It's a corrupt word of the Haitian Creole word for ancestor, which is Sanse. So that's where that came from.
Interesting.
This is my husband.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Chris.
Hello.
My husband with us. Would you like to ask Louis anything?
Not at the moment, but eventually I will.
I wish I could see you guys. I'm scared to touch anything here.
Well, we could see you.
You can't see me. I get nervous.
So, in this book, it talks a lot about misas and mediumship, and it actually classifies the different categories of mediums and their different abilities. Right. So can you tell us a little bit about what is mediumship, and then misas in general, and how they incorporate, and why is it so important? Okay. I guess first, what is a medium?
A medium is a person. It's a person who has the ability to connect. We all have mediumistic abilities to some form. I'm not special than anybody. We all have a connection with spirits. Many people just don't want to believe it. So we do, on a daily basis, have a connection with the world of spirit. It's a realm that's very close to our realm, of existence. We call it una existencia, un plano de existencia that's very close to our plano de existencia, and we share. We can interact so much with these spirits, and a lot of people, I'm sorry, my doorbell's ringing. They just say, can you give me one moment? I'm so embarrassed.
No problem. It's okay.
All right. So how about you, Chris? You'll take the... Do you in voodoo? Because you practice something different than I do. So a good question is, I'm throwing you in the bunch. How about mediumship and voodoo? Do you practice that in your religion?
Concerning to what? I didn't hear you.
Because we're on the subject of mediums.
Yes.
Do you incorporate that in your practice?
Well, we do, but we do not channel.
You do Haitian voodoo, right? Because there's differences.
Yes, we channel the Loa, the spirits that are higher elevated, but we don't bring down dead ancestors. We don't do that in voodoo. Not in our house, at least. Yeah.
So, how is mediumship? So you don't practice it at all? It's not. You don't intertwine it into what you do, or?
No, it's not.
It's one of those questions, but we want to know.
It's not the same thing. We don't bring our ancestors. We never do that in our house. So no, we don't do that.
So how about mediumship in general? What do you believe mediumship? Hi, Louis.
Sorry.
I'm asking Chris what he feels mediumship is and what his perspective is of what is a medium before we kind of bring you back into that.
Yeah, I mean, we do bring spirits down, and we all mediums in a way that we can interact with our ancestors too. But we don't, in voodoo, we don't we don't bring our ancestors in our body, and I think that's the difference.
Yeah.
We bring the Loas and the higher elevated spirits from Guinea, but we don't bring ancestors in. And I don't know if you have a perspective of view of that, Louis.
I do, and most of and this is Haitian voodoo, so I have to separate Haitian voodoo from Sanse and the Sanse beliefs, and we have to respect that. But Candelo, the Loa that he became a Loa, was an ancestor, and there's records of his existence 200 years ago. And what we use, the lady that we use for Santa Marta Dominadora was a woman who lived in Santo Domingo. And so it's a process where they're an ancestor to a certain family or to a certain group of spirits, people, I'm sorry. And then within time, that spirit becomes elevated. It's like a saint, like a Catholic saint, where a saint passes away and then it becomes elevated. So, the Loa, for us, the word Loa or Misterio, it encompasses many things. It encompasses spirits from as high as very elevated to spirits that are, that are at the, what's the word I want, grounded or lower level type of spirits. And it's the same thing in the word angels, because you got angels that there's certain different groups of angels, and then you got these angels that are highly elevated, but then you got fallen angels, you see, in biblical terms or in Judeo-Christian or Judeo traditions, where you have fallen angels, but they still are angels, you see.
Right.
So that's what we use. Now we don't mount our ancestors, or we try not to. If someone passes away, we try to do a misa espiritual or a novena for 9 days after that person dies, because that person usually, when a person passes away and the spirit leaves the body, it's in a shock.
And I guess that's the confusion of how people think, because they don't know what espiritista is. They don't know because some people, they evoke spirits, they evoke the dead, and you guys don't do that, right?
No, we don't evoke the
dead. Why do you not evoke the dead?
The dead is very dangerous. Once you call on one, you call on many. Okay, it's very dangerous because they're all around us, and when you call the dead, many dead are confused. Many dead, in their existence, they're still in a way of how they were in their life. So if that spirit was an aggressive or negative spirit, negative human being, you're invoking that negative energy into your home, into your house, into your life.
So I think that's the confusion of how people perceive things. So what is the difference between a dead and a spirit?
Well, spirits, of course, we're incarnate spirits. Okay. What the word dead means is the spirit is not carnate in physical materia. Okay.
Material.
It's not incarnate in the physical flesh, the physical body. Okay. And many times when a spirit dies in a violent way, which happens a lot, that energy of that last moment of life is still carried into the spiritual realm, into the world of spirit. So they come out very violent, or they can come out very aggressive. And 99% of the spirits, not that I invoke them or work with them, I see spirits all the time, and many times I see spirits that I don't feel comfortable with. You see what I'm saying? Now it's a job for a espiritista. We are not the I don't know if you see those TV shows where they have all these mediums, American mediums. I don't want to say words, but those ghost hunter shows. Ghost hunters. Where they just want to put cameras and see spirits. That's not our job. Our job is, if we see something or we feel something, it is our job to try to understand why that spirit is suffering. Why is it there, and what can we do to help that spirit to elevate it?
That was my next question. Like, what is our job as a medium? Yeah. And it really is to give light to the spirit, to elevate them.
They're confused. They're hurt. They're suffering. And and they're in a realm, you know, where they can see. Sometimes they can see us, sometimes they can't, you know, and they're confused. It's a state of confusion. It's like being on a drug. You know, your brain. It's confused. So most of them are confused, and they're not all spirits. A lot of people think it's spirits that they see. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's apparitions. It's many different things. We have to find out what it is and why that spirit is there, and what can we do to help that spirit, you know, and what can we do to elevate it? We don't entertain the ghosts, you know. If there's a ghost, if there's a poltergeist in the house, we try to figure out why this spirit is aggressive in this house. You know, is it the land? Was it part of the history of, you know, where was the home built, and what can we do to help that spirit?
So why would a spirit want to stay and not elevate?
You know, that the word mystery is very important, and you know, a lot of spirits get attached to material things, believe it or not. Just like we get attached in physical human form, we get attached to, I don't know, let's say I buy a new Rolls Royce, I don't know, or I buy a house. You know,
Can I have one?
I work my life for this house. This house is mine. I worked so hard for it that when you pass, you're still connected to that. So that's where you get the hauntings, because you don't want to give that up. Now, most of the times, a haunting, they don't even know that humans are there, that you are there. They think they're still alive. Their time is different in spirit, so they think they're still alive, and to them it's a mystery. To them, you might be the spirit. You see what I'm saying?
Oh.
It's really weird.
That's interesting.
I love all that stuff.
It's a mystery, you know.
I love all that stuff.
I'm sorry.
I guess I want to know, what is a misa? You know, there's talk now these days about misa. What is a misa? What can someone expect from a misa? And why is it important in the spiritual development as well? Is someone practicing espiritismo?
Misas were started, well, you know, in the olden days, the poor in Puerto Rico couldn't go to the doctors, couldn't go to the hospitals. You know, most Puerto Ricans lived in the mountain areas, and they had no cars, you know, so hospitals were very far. So the espiritistas and the curanderos and whatever, they were the doctors of the poor, okay? Now, they were either bone setters, they were herbalists, and they were, you know, spiritual people. And in order for you to be living a fine life, there's three things that you must live perfectly with, which is mind, body, and soul, you know. And we have to make sure that these three things are aligned so that we live a good, peaceful life. And a lot of people, they had trouble, you know, like we do today. And of course, they couldn't go to hospitals far away, so they would seek out these espiritistas or these brujos or whatever it be, and find out, you know, I have this problem, I have this depression, my husband's leaving me, you know, and they would speak, you know, through the spirits or through the ancestors to see if they can find a solution for that problem. Is the problem because of karma? Is the problem because whatever it may be, you know? But so we gather in misas espirituales, one, to elevate our spirits, two, to feel connected with life after death, and three, to help individuals that are suffering. We suffer through problems every day. So, you know, as a group, we try to heal each other with whether it be energy, whether it be through prayers, whether it be through cleansing, or whether it be through a medium, una media unidad, mounting a spirit, and then the spirit, which is un guía protector, you know, it's not any spirit, you know, it's a guía protector, sent by God, you know, because the spirit is yours before.
It's a protecting spirit. It's not a spirit of a dead.
No.
Okay, I'm just translating so other people can understand.
Yes. And you know, and so the spirit tries to give them a solution, un baño, una limpia, a bath, a
cleansing.
A bath, a cleansing, or sometimes it's not even in the realm of spirit. So the spirit will say, your problem is not in the realm of spirit. You need mental help or like physical help, you know. So that's what we do. We gather that, but we gather I think it's to feel alive and that to give esperanza. I don't know the word in English. faith that there's life after death. You see?
How about for spiritual development? Learning your courts, what spirit surrounds you. Is that a misa too, or is that something?
There is a misa investigación that we do for the person, and
investigation misa.
Yeah, investigation of our spiritual frame.
Of our spiritual frame.
Right. We have as many spirits as we have cells. We are a walking universe. God, Bondye, Olodumare, Jehová, made us in His or her image. Okay, that encompasses a lot. See this inside me, inside this materia, there's a universe of cells that have life. You know, and also we have germs and we have viruses, and so we have to look at that in a spiritual sense. That which one are the spirits that are working for us to help us, to elevate us, and which are the spirits? Because we also have bad spirits. You know, we have a lot of spirits that are bad. You know, it's not all rosy and good. You know, we have a lot of negative spirits that surround us. So we have to make sure that we try to elevate or heal each one of those negative spirits. I got sidetracked by the question that you asked. I'm sorry.
Which one?
I'm sorry. I can ramble.
No, it's okay. Like, I'm trying to help people understand why a misa is important, and it's to, oh my God, I'm coughing. Identify our spiritual course.
The important thing about a misa is because before it's a great thing. Before you can work with a saint, before you can work with an orisha, before you can work with a loa, you must work with your ancestors. You know, because they carry us through this life. You see?
Yes.
And your guías and protectores today will someday be an orisha, a loa.
So you would never be without your ancestors. You would never be alive.
You can't be alive. You know, you would be lost. You know.
You're standing on the ancestors' shoulders.
They carry us. You know, and the earth.
So you got to go through the levels. That's what you're saying. You got to go through the levels to be able to stand on a firm foundation. And what is bad, you got to remove or fix it. That's how you work. And what is good, you gotta elevate it and keep elevating it and ask the spirits to help you, guide you, whatever mistakes they did, and so you don't make the same mistakes, and so you can be a better person.
Right.
So, people ask me a lot because I'm a reader, and people go through a lot of issues, and they want to know. This is one of the main questions. How do I feel better? What is something someone can do, or what you recommend for them to feel relief or calm or protect themselves? So it's kind of that freedom to feel release and then to protect them. Because one of the main things you get is I'm anxiety, I'm stressed, I'm going through all these things. How can I help myself spiritually to feel better, and what can I do for myself to protect myself spiritually as well?
Okay, there's a saying that like attracts like. Okay, so if your life is chaotic, you can usually walk into a chaotic person's house and know that they're chaotic. You don't have to be a fortune teller to see they're hoarders. There's a lot of problems.
The law of attraction.
Bingo. Like attracts like. We are magnets, and the way we perceive ourselves, the way we act, is we magnetize it in the universe. So when you go to a person's house, that's the main thing. You notice, these things. Try to keep clean the body. We have to keep clean. We have to make sure that our health is good. We have to make sure that our home is in a positive vibration. And when I say clean, I don't just mean materially clean. I mean spiritually cleanse the house, whether it be through sage, agua Florida water. Put light music. Pray. Prayer is very important, and faith is very important. If you have a chaotic life, you're going to attract chaotic spirits. And you're going to attract chaotic friends, chaotic lifestyle. It's a very, because we are magnets. A lot of people like to blame it on God. It's really not God, you know.
So what you really gotta do is you gotta analyze. You gotta sit down and analyze what's going on in my life right now.
Right, exactly.
What is happening? What is in my house? You know how.
Exactly. Right. And when I go to a house, you know, and they want me to cleanse the house spiritually, what's the word that I want to say? I don't know. I can't say it in English. I look around the house and I cleanse, but I look at parts where I feel like a negative energy and estancado, stuck. And yeah, and I'm like, okay, see this pile of clothing, this dirty pile of clothing, remove it out of there. You know, try to keep up these things. You know, we have to put a lot into it, and a lot of people search for brujos, muerteros, ungans, espiritistas, to find a solution for the problems. We try to give you a solution, but if you don't help yourself, there's nothing we can do.
There's nothing we can do. Man, that's the way we work as well. And people have to have faith in what they do as well. Not only put faith in the spiritualist, but also in themselves after that, and actually perform the tasks that you, as the spiritualist, tell them to do. So people ignore it, and often they come to you to solve the problem, and they leave it up to you, and they think that you will be able to be the cure of everything that is going on, but that's not the fact, right?
It's like a doctor. It's like a medical doctor. Let's say a person has, we use HIV as a term. If you go to the doctors and you find out you have HIV, the doctor's going to say, okay, for me to prolong your life, you need to take these pills. That's up to you. I mean, if you go home and you don't want to take those pills can save your life. They can make you live a long life. But if you don't take these pills, the doctor's giving you the information. You see, and that's what we do. We're giving you the information. 99% of your healing comes from you. You see, we are giving you the roadmaps. We're giving you the instructions of what to do to help yourself. But the help really comes more from yourself.
And why is faith
That's a good example.
so important? You know, and what is faith? I try to tell people that to believe in something. If you keep putting negative thoughts into it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Oh, I'm trying to do this, but it's not going to work. Nothing I do is ever going to work. You know, and that's lack of faith.
You just set yourself up for failure.
You set yourself up for failure. So how and why is faith so important in spirituality? That's a good one too.
Faith can move mountains. Faith has created countries. It has created races. It has created cultures. You know, and you can see it in the world around us. The pyramids. I mean, they must have had faith on those pyramids because they built them. You see what I'm saying? We can do a lot. With faith, one thing with faith, and of course with slaves as well. But
yeah, exactly.
A lot of manpower too. A lot of manpower.
But someone had faith and someone had a vision, you know, and that's how we have to visualize everything in our life. You have to be like that little choo-choo train that says, I think I can, and then stop with that, I think I can, I know I can. You see what I'm saying? I know I can do this. I know I can heal. I know I can be better. And if I have this problem, there's a reason why, you know, embrace that problem. Don't run away from your problems. Embrace it. Face it forward. Do you see? And don't cower to it. Face it. And a lot of people cower to it. You know, and you have to face these things.
Right. And often what I experience is that when people have problems, or in general in life, they get an idea, and they don't act on the idea in the moment. They just let it pass by.
They let it pass by. Yes, and that's something that you have to always stick to it. You know, you have to stick to what the person says, even if it's. You know, I try to. First of all, I always tell a person, you know, say a little prayer. It could be from a psalm. It could be from a sacred text. Or it could come from the heart, but you have to believe in it, and you have to keep going. You know, you have to have faith. You know,
and then you gotta grab the moment, right?
You gotta grab that moment because the spirits hear us through emotions. Do you see what I'm saying? Only through suffering will my spirits, through true suffering will my spirits hear me. Do you see? And that's why you're having this. If you're suffering, this is the time when you really need to connect with your spirits, because that's when they hear you the most. It's through our human emotions, through our human sorrows, through our human pains. You know, that's when a lot of people cower and they, no, I need to find someone.
And people are saying often that I be praying all the time. I went to the spiritualist. It did work for me, but I don't see nothing happening. Why do you think that this is going? I'm not talking about the because I know there's a lot of fake ones, but I'm talking about if you go to a real person or if you do prayers from your heart, how come the person doesn't perceive this? What's going on?
I'm sorry. Could you say that one last? Say that one time.
Yeah. How come the person that is praying from the heart and he's telling you that I did my prayers, I'm really connected to God, but still I don't see progress in my life. Why?
Okay. There's a great teacher in Espiritismo that we have, and we believe he's a medium, and a lot of people are going to be very scandalized by who I'm going to say right now. To me, Jesus Christ was espiritista. He was one of the greatest spiritistas. And Moses was one of the greatest sorcerers. On the mountain of on the mountain of Olives, Jesus knew that he was going to die. And he prayed and he said, God, take this cup off of me, please. You see what I'm saying? Take this off of me. I don't want to die. He had the chance to run away, but he stood. He said, you know what? I'm going to die tomorrow. Let me face it.
I'm going to do this.
I'm scared as hell. And even on the cross, because you can understand, those two men that were beside him are the spirits. He had Gaspar and I forgot the other name. One of them was his spirit guide, and one of them was the taunting spirit who said, you ain't the Son of God. You ain't. I'm sorry, I'm going to swear. You ain't shit. Because if you were the Son of God, you'd come off that cross. Okay? Jesus looked up to the heaven at that moment. He said, God, why have you forsaken me? Why have you abandoned me? Why have you placed this on me? You see? All spiritual leaders, I don't care what culture you are from, have gone through suffering. Do you see? And through suffering, it's just a momentary suffering. That's where we elevate. That's where we need to elevate.
You get the choice to do either you do it, either you progress yourself, you grab that moment, you grab that inspiration, that spark, or you run away.
We're all tested.
We're all tested. We're all tested. We're all tested.
I don't want to cut you off, but a question that I get asked often. I say I'm a spiritualist. Well, is that the same thing as Santeria? I'm like, no, it's not. Well, I see you dressed in white, often. You wear collares, you wear beads. So what is the difference? How do you identify them differently?
They're all very much different traditions, and we have to study our traditions and our faiths. If you're going to follow a religion or a faith, take time to learn the religion, the history, the roots. The roots are the ancestors. Do you see what I'm saying? When we dress in white in Espiritismo, it has to do with the Boitú and the Beyque, which were the shamans of our people in Puerto Rico and Cuba and all that. When they would connect with spirit, they would dress in light-colored clothing. Light represents the color of purity, represents the color of the ancestral realm, and it represents. If you wear dark colors, you're gonna attract dark spirits. And I like to wear dark colors, but when it comes to a spiritual setting, when it comes to misa espirituales and all that, I like to wear white, purity, cleanliness. Do you see? It represents the ancestors. Now your question was Santeria and all that.
Just in general, you don't have to get too specific.
Yeah,
but people can't separate them when they don't understand their differences. They think everything's the same.
No, they're not the same. All santeros are espiritistas, but not all espiritistas are santeros, which is very simple like that. Because in order for you to honor Yemaya, in order for you to honor Ochun, you got to make sure you honor your muertos, because the dead gave birth to that sante. Do you see what I'm saying?
So Santeria practices orishas, or?
I'm sorry?
It does. So what is the difference? Santeria practice works with orishas or worships orishas, and how about spiritismo? Do they do that too?
We
Or
don't
what's the difference?
we don't worship our spirits. We don't worship our
You
ancestors.
offer them. What?
We venerate them and we honor them.
Damn.
We worship God. Well, like I said, many names you can give God. There's not just one name for God. We worship Him, but we honor and we respect and we venerate the angel that protects us. We don't worship it, and we honor our dead. And I don't know if that answered the question there.
How do we honor them? How do we honor our ancestors? How do we do this?
It can be as simple as pouring water in front of your door every morning. En nombre del Padre, Hijo, Espíritu Santo, respecting all your spirits, to really paying attention to that beautiful mountain, and you feel the hairs levantar. How do you say it in English? You feel it.
If you're standing on your
There's so
standing
many.
up.
Yeah, there's so many ways of honoring ancestors. There's the way you might honor it might not be the way I honor it, and we can't criticize that. That's the way you connect with your ancestors. You connect with your spirits. I go to the river every day. There's a river around where I live, and that's the way I connect with my spirits and my ancestors. Through the element of water. And I can also go to a Catholic church, and I can light a candle to San Antonio, to San Juda, or whoever it may be, because I knew my grandfather was a devotee of San Martín Caballero. So when I'm honoring San Martín Caballero, I'm also honoring mi abuelito. You see what I'm saying?
My grandfather. Yeah, my godmother tells me all the time. She tells me, your ancestors are your shit. You know how to do it. No one else could tell you any better than you. No one can tell you any different too, because you know how your family worked, or what they liked or what they didn't like. So it's because I get that question often. Well, how do I connect with my ancestors? And some people think you have to have this elaborate ritual, and I tell them you can just sit there with their picture, put a little bit of water, a vela, and sometimes you just need to speak to them or do something that they liked, and you do that in their honor. Maybe their favorite flower or a bit of food in your traditional culture that that they liked.
Exactly.
Something simple like that. It's just about connecting to them.
Right, exactly. You do, and you wouldn't believe how many times your ancestors are connecting with you on a daily basis. Your spirits, just because your mother is not here materia doesn't mean that your mother's not there espiritualmente,
Just because your mother's not here physically, it doesn't mean that your mother's not there spiritually.
She is, and when you are suffering the most is when they're there the most. Do you see? And when you have to have faith in that. You have to have faith in those things. I feel my grandmother. Sometimes I'm just cleaning, and the thought comes into my mind, and why did I just think about her? Because her essence is there, her energy is there, and I have to have faith in that. You see?
Okay, there's some people that are concerned about, is there a time period that you should wait after the person dies before you call on them?
We always give it before in Puerto Rican culture, and I can't speak about any other culture. When someone passes away, we do a velorio for 3 days. Then we have one rest day. Then we do the novena, which is prayers for 9 days to make sure that we try to elevate that spirit. We give that spirit a year. Do you see? We give that spirit a year for it to understand where it's at. Don't call it, because it's joining its ancestors. That spirit's joining its ancestors, and that spirit's confused. You don't want to start calling it down to earth, because you're going to lock it into this materia.
Exactly.
Yes. It's still transitioning. It's still elevating. And if you call it before, it's going to be stuck bound, and you don't want that. You got to
give it to rise. You got to give it that 1 year. And time in spirit is not the same as time in human. Time is something that humans created, but that's something that we do, is we try to give it that 1 year, for us.
Yeah, so it's kind of a sense of dimension rather than time. So in human terms, before you start calling your spirits, give it some time
Yes.
before it passes by. You know, go through the phases of sorrow and you know, your feelings and whatever you want to express before you start calling the spirit and
Because what
trapping it.
happens is that they're going through. You don't know what the spirit lived into a life, but let's say the person was a good person in life, and when they're making their journey through that water, that tunnel, and on the other side, they feel the freedom of no more pain in the body, and they feel this joy, they feel this happiness, and they're surrounded by their ancestors, those ancestors that they remember and those ancestors that they don't remember, you know, but they're feeling joy, and to call them back is very selfish, you know. Let them transition, let them make them that transition, let them be united with their spirits, you know.
Oh, we lost them.
You lost me?
No, I see you now. How about you, Chris? How about in Haitian voodoo? Because it's different than how about in Haitian voodoo? Do you call on your spirits before a year? What's the time frame before you're able to connect with your dead?
That's very interesting what Louis is saying, because we do a ceremony called Buhun, where we use the same amount of days and time, where we elevate the spirit, and we use our time frame is 1 year and 1 day actually.
Yes, 1 year, 1 day. I'm sorry, you're right. You're correct.
Yeah, before we call back the spirit, and before we can communicate with the spirit. So we let the spirit rest, and we let the spirit have the time to be able to figure out what is going on, and do it naturally, because we don't want to create disturbance in things that are in God's hands. So.
All right, so this is going to be a good question for you, Chris, my darling husband, and then I'm going to ask Louis. So, since we're on the topic of spirits, where do you think the spirit is going? Do you believe in heaven? What does Haitian voodoo believe? Where's the spirit transition? You know, where's it going?
Well, there's, like Louis mentioned, they pass through the waters, and through the waters is the place, is the realm for the spirit. So some people might call it heaven, you know, but it's a place between the heaven and earth, because you can look into the heaven, there's nothing there. You understand? So the spirit world is in the waters, and that's where the spirits reside. So that's also we have in voodoo called a spirit called La Sirène, which is also Yemaya, and she is the mother of the sea, of the water, and we can connect to her to bring she's considered the mother of all the spirits as well, so she's connected. So the waters is what brings life, and that's why the human body also consists, you know, 70% water, and you know, that's the birth.
So
and when you give birth,
it's not like you know, I don't really know too much about Haitian voodoo when it comes into those little technical things.
It's very simple. You have to analyze. You have to analyze. You have to analyze your surroundings, how it is. You know, what is real. When you give birth, what is the first thing that breaks?
I just want to know, where do you believe like you're elevating to for that year? Where they? I mean, is it heaven, or so where are they going? So you don't. It's just they're elevating into them just being a spirit. Is that?
Is many different, you know, it's many different levels and is many dimensions. But to put it simple and easy, a word for it, it can be heaven. You know, that's a simple word. You can use heaven if you want to. We call it Guinée in voodoo.
But it's not the Christian. Okay, so it's Guinée. That's what it's called in Haitian voodoo. So it's not heaven. And how about you, Louis?
Well, heaven, for my personal belief, is, you know, heaven, you have to be a highly elevated spirit in materia.
Material.
To reach that when you make the transition. And there's...
That's Guinea, yeah.
Yes, there's many levels. Many levels. That the spirit has to go to keep elevating to reach that. And when they reach that level, they will never come back to this world.
Okay.
You know,
so
they will never
actually going to the next level. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So we're ready. Like I can't believe 50 minutes already went by. That went by quick. So for the last question, what can we expect from you? What's coming up from Brujo Luis? What can we expect from you?
Well, I'm doing a little bit traveling. You know, I gotta go to Puerto Rico and probably go to Venezuela. But I want to work on a book which is very hard because the Spanish really did destroy a lot of the Taino spirituality and religions. You know, they really abolished that, and we can just keep going with that. But I want to, you know, reintroduce the best I can, the way I do it myself, because it works for me. Doesn't mean it's going to work for you. How to connect with your ancestral spirits, whether it be your Taino spirits or if you're from Australia, how to connect with your Australian ancestors, you know.
Oh, great. So a book about ancestors is coming?
I want to do a book about the how I incorporate Taino spirituality into what I do. And how those spirits, what they call semi, the maboya are like negative spirits, and then the opea are like the ancestors. And how do I incorporate that into what I do? Because a lot of the things that we do as Puerto Ricans, and not just Puerto Ricans, but everybody in the Caribbean, we're doing a lot of Taino things, you know. Right here, this is one, tabaco, you know, very sacred. The first thing that the Aguebana gave to Christopher Columbus when he first came, you know, to the Caribbean, because it's a sacred herb, you know, and we even give a legua, you know, tobacco, but this comes from the Arawaks and the Tainos, and there's a lot of things that we do in all the traditions that we don't recognize are really Taino or Arawaki.
I think that's wonderful. As being a Puerto Rican woman right here, there's not a lot of books that really explain the Taino culture. I feel like it's something that's lost. They've been trying to say we don't exist, you know, and it's almost extinct, actually. So you're kind of bringing it back and helping us actually elevate our ancestors at the same time. So I feel like it's a wonderful thing. It's like, I'm excited. Look at my face.
A lot of Taino exists in everything, in the way we say huracán, in the way we say barbecue, in the way we say baseball. You know, that's Taino word.
Really?
Yes, baseball, bate, you know, in the way Puerto Ricans express themselves, the way we speak through our nose, the color of our skin. A lot of people like to, in Latin America, like to make fun of Puerto Ricans, the way Puerto Ricans speak Spanish. We don't speak the Spanish of the king and the queen. We speak criollo, which is a mixture of African, Taino, and of course Castilian, you know. And we say a lot of words that they don't. Guagua. That's not
Guagua.
Guagua is a Taino word, you know.
We say that all the time.
Guagua is a Taino word, you know.
That's our word for bus.
Actually, for the Taino, it's like a worm, you know. So the Taino influence, BB. That's another thing, BB.
Drink.
But that comes from the word breast for Taino. Bobo. When we give the baby the bobo, that's the nipple. That's the female nipple. So we use a lot of Taino words in the Puerto Rican language.
I really thought we just made up these words like poito as it went on. I was like, we had a different language going on, you know.
No, they're not made up. They
That's very interesting. I can't wait to see that. I look forward to that book. So how can people reach you if they want to connect with you?
Basically, mostly on Facebook. I don't have much of an internet presence, I think, but basically mostly on Facebook through Sancita Brujo Luis. And I do have the YouTube channel that I try to do videos here and there. But mostly through Facebook is where you can reach me. And I do clients. Clients come to my home. I do readings, you know. I do bajo lo ser mío to speak with people. But yeah, basically through Facebook.
And he also do phone readings as well. And you can catch. I will post the links, you know, after the video stops broadcasting. I'll post a link to this to this book. You can catch it on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, and also Lulu.com. Luz y Progreso. There we go. That's a nice screenshot if you were supposed to do it. And you can catch it. But thank you so much. It was an honor.
It was an honor having me as a first guest.
Have anything last words to say?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Much love to your neighbors. Much love to your brothers. Much love. Let's stop the racism. Let's stop talking about other people and other cultures. Let's try to unite as a human being.
Yes, coexist. Me and my husband is the perfect example that we definitely work with two different things. You know, we have our own different spiritual rooms
and coexist. Let's
divided,
coexist.
but we could coexist with each other. It's all about respect, you know, for other people's traditions, you know, and not to discriminate or to be in that battle. So thank you so much, Chris. Would you like to have a last input before we close?
It's definitely if you want to contact somebody who is, you know, who has experience, who has wisdom, and who actually is a real practitioner of being able to connect to the spirits. And you know, there's a lot of mambo jumbo out there, and a lot of people who practice fake things. And I have great respect for Lewis, so I would definitely, I love Lewis, so I would definitely contact him if there is anything that you have on your mind, or that if you need to have questions to anything in your heart, Lewis is the man to go to. So
thank you.
Yes, definitely.
And you can contact me on emmymoon.com. I do readings daily, or you could visit my website. I have different blogs about angels, psalms. I'm a spiritualist as well, so you can contact me there, or on my Facebook, Psychic Emmy Moon. Take care, everyone. God bless. Thank you, Lewis, so much for joining us. We love you. See you later.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.